Hi, I'm John Burke of Burke & Company with A Better View, and this week A Better View is going to be a better buy. And I'm going to get to that better buy, but I'm going to take quite a bit to get there because I really want to explain my thinking about why I see this as a better buy. Now, everyone's been telling me, you got to go shorter, you got to go shorter, you got to go shorter on the videos. Well, the topic today is related a little bit to defying conventional advice and conventional wisdom. And this is going to be long, so fair warning. But if you are interested, if you own a home at the Jersey Shore, or you're thinking about buying a home at the Jersey Shore, there's going to be a lot of information in there that I think might help guide a lot of people's thinking about what's going on in the market right now. And there is a lot going on in the market right now. When everybody else is doing one thing, sometimes there's an advantage to look at doing the other thing. A really good example, I have a really important mentor in my life who told me a story, and this story, might be taken with a grain of salt because I've heard it from other places too. But he managed to save and actually ended up doing really well in the 80s, the late 87, I think there was a major stock market crash. Because a couple months before that crash occurred, one night he had invited a pizza delivery guy into his house because they were looking for the money to pay the pizza delivery guy. And the pizza delivery guy was trying to give him stock tips and get stock tips from him. And he sort of said to himself, he was managing some other people's money at the time too, when your pizza delivery guy is giving you stock tips, maybe it's time to get out of the market. And so he actually, and with the people he was working for, took a large part of their money out of the market in the coming next 2 months. And by the time they got to October, they were 50% in cash. So when everything crashed and it started to come back, they did really, really good coming out of the 80s. When a lot of other people did not do so good. I am the pizza delivery guy. Come October, all of last year, right? My wife, I just got married, a year and a half ago, and starting to think about the future. So, living differently, right? Trying to live within our means and really save money and work hard. And, for the future, you got to get that money invested. It can't just sit in a bank account, right? So all through 2018, I'm sitting there and, we're trying to save and we're watching what we're doing. And I want the market to go down, right? Just go down a little bit because, we're at the end of the longest bull run in all of history to a large extent. So I just want it to go down so I can put some money in, and all year it just keeps going up, right? So then you start to look back and go, wow, well, if I just put it in January, I'd be up 15 or 20% on it right now. So I am the pizza delivery guy. So we get to October and I finally say, well, I can't leave it sitting outside, right? And I put money into the market. So I start moving my money into the market. And of course, if you have investments, if you follow them at all, you know that October of 2018 was not the best time to start moving money into the market. And sure enough, right, following the crowd, getting on board, fear of missing out, and I got punished a little bit for that, right? I mean, the markets have come back, quite a bit, but there was some punishment for that. But in the midst of that, I did one thing counterintuitive, and I've been rewarded for that. I did go against the crowd on one thing, and that was a stock that I really, really liked. Some of you might know Snapchat. It's owned by Snap. That's a stock, it was initially publicly offered at $17. I started buying shares at $13, and it has just kept going down from there. However, in the midst of it going down and down and down, I basically doubled the shares that I owned when it was between, say, $5 and $6.50. I kept buying shares in that range too. And the reason is, even though everybody was bearish on the stock, and if you went and looked at the analysts, they all were saying terrible things on the stock, I thought that the stock had some big potential in that all the young people I know, like my cousins and whatnot, it seems to be the app that they use for social interaction. And I even heard a stat in the last month, and this is part of why it rallied last week. It's up almost 50% over the course of a week. So it was trading around the $5 mark, a couple weeks ago, and now it's trading up in the $9 area. So I mean, it's almost doubled actually since a few weeks ago. And I was buying shares at $5, and the reason was that I saw that young people are using this, and something like in the last month, something like 70% of all 13 to 34-year-olds have seen an ad on Snap. It's a pretty impressive figure. And moving forward, we do a lot of marketing on Facebook, right? Very important. But that's because a lot of our clients are in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s, and Facebook is very relevant to them. It's not as relevant to younger people. And so Snap has the potential, and that's why it rallied so much recently, a few things came out, of rivaling something like Facebook or rivaling something like Twitter. So those two companies are right now at valuations that put them in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And Snap right now, at least a little while ago, had a valuation that was more like $8 billion. So there's room for exponential growth there. And, by thinking against the grain, when everyone else was saying sell Snap, sell Snap, sell Snap, I saw something that I thought everybody else wasn't seeing, and I can end up being entirely wrong here, right? Snap could be at 0 in 4 weeks. But for the time being, that counterintuitive thinking has really rewarded me. Whereas when I went with the crowd and said, well, I'm going to miss out on things, and just started, to go into the market in October, I got punished for that. And this happens a lot in the real estate market too. All right, right now, I would call the market, and I've been calling it balanced for quite a while, but the last 2 springs in particular, the market has very much been a seller's market. If people want to talk to us about selling right now, very happy to talk to them about selling. Things are very, very good. People are going to get a price much better than they would have just a few years ago. So it's harder on buyers. Now, that's not to say I don't think buyers can do well in this market. We're going to have a property that was under contract this week that I think a buyer, saw a situation and got a very good deal on. You can do very well in this market buying right now. You just have to be a little bit smarter about what you're doing and a little bit more willing, I think, to walk away from a few situations. And also very willing to act in the right situations and act hard and act fast in the right situations. But generally right now, I think sellers have a lot of advantages this spring, and prices are bearing that out. So a few years ago, everybody seemed to be, there was a lot of new construction on the 100 block in Sea Isle, right between Landis and Central. And a lot of people, new sells. Here's one of my great facts. This is why this is so long. Here's a fact for you if you're looking at real estate. I know this to be true in Sea Isle, and I'll tell you how I know it to be true. There is a depreciation effect that goes on with new construction. Same thing like a new car, right? The second you drive a new car off the lot, it's worth less money. That happens in real estate. It's hidden by the fact that real estate is an asset that generally performs well over time, right? Home prices, as a general rule, almost without exception, do go up over time, in a lot of cases better than the rate of inflation. But as home prices move up, that gets hidden because very few people buy a house and then try to sell it, buy a new house and then try to sell it 6 months later or a year later. So by the time you get around to selling it, the house is worth more and you don't see it. However, you can see that this is true because a 2-year-old home in Sea Isle, townhouse, right? Now it's got all the same specs as a brand new construction, will have to be fully furnished, with window treatments and furniture, all the things that go into that, which is going to set you back, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in some cases if you do it a little more plush now that people are, the house is costing $1 million. That 2-year-old home, right? A 2-year-old home has some advantages over a new home. There's some kinks to work out in new construction. People don't talk about that, but homes really probably have their lease maintenance between like 2 and 10 years. Before things start going wrong again. But in those first 2 years, you can find out all sorts of things, that weren't quite right. A little bit of flashing was done incorrectly. Now there's water coming in over here, or all sorts of things. So, people think they're going to buy new and they're going to have fewer problems, and they do have fewer problems probably than a home that's 30 years old. But really, I think about 2 years in, a home's very broken in. If your furnace hasn't broken in the first 2 years, right? In the first 2 years, there could be a bad part. Could have been set up incorrectly, but if it runs through those first 2 years, you're probably going to be good until 10 years. However, those 2-year-old homes, right, will usually get a slightly lesser price than the brand new ones, even though they're fully furnished. So now you've put $60,000, $70,000 worth of relatively new furniture, right, 2 years old or less furniture in there, and you've got a 2-year-old home, so the mechanics are essentially new. And yet your price is less than the other new constructions that are out there. So your home, even though it's the same thing, is worth less simply because it's not new any longer. So there's definitely depreciation there. All right, a few years ago, I had a few buyers who were more on the investor side, or who the investment portion of their purchase was very important as a factor to them. And I was preaching, go buy on the beach block. We were having trouble selling on the beach block. Everyone kept buying new ones back on the 100 block. And I said, you get a lot of rent money if you're up on the beach block. These homes are going to start blending in with some other things. And at some point, this beach block's going to go off, and your home's it's going to have room to appreciate very, very quickly, right? So people went and did that. Some people went and did that, and right now, getting to the real estate market right now in Sea Isle, that's when that plan is going to start paying off. Why? Because this year, right, we're only a month in, but I can tell you that the hottest sector in the real estate market of Sea Isle is the beach block. The developers found a lot of places to build this year, and they were coming on with a construction price in the fall and the winter, we thought, of 1.4 for new construction on the beach block. And the market is so strong that they readjusted. And everyone's now listed at 1.5 and 1.55 and even more than that. So the new construction price, depending upon location, has moved up to like 1.5, 1.55 on the beach block. And they're selling. They're going under contract left and right. In some cases, before they even hit the market. So if you're looking for that, reach out. And more power to you if you could do it. I mean, I know why people buy new. It's great driving a new car. It's great owning a new house. You know, so if you just, and you're going to do well long term, I mean, they rent ridiculously, right? And our market is strong. I mean, our market is moving more high end than in the opposite direction. So, you know, long term, they're going to do fine. But if I was looking specifically as an investor, right, a different type of purchase than just this is what I want, this is what my family wants, this is what we're going to enjoy, I might not look at new. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't look at new construction. Wouldn't be my option at all. I'd be looking at other things. And right now, those people who bought those beach blocks, when everyone was back buying on the 100 block, the new ones, they have big opportunities. With some renovation, you know, people bought these homes, if you go back a few years, for crazy low prices. But even just a few years back, you know, people bought these homes in the 700,000s. And I think by going in now and doing some work on them, their homes could be worth more than $1 million. We're actually seeing unrenovated homes right now at good locations. List at like $1.15 million. There was one last week, 1069th Street, listed at $1.15 million, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, only like 1,800 and something square feet in the tax records. It was under contract in less than a week, $1.15 million, and it was unrenovated. I think it was built in the 80s and unrenovated. So the beach block right now is appreciated. So where's your opportunity? If I were looking for an opportunity right now where I was going to be in the best spot 5 or 7 years from now for having made a purchase, right? Especially if I plan on renting, right? But even if I'm not planning on renting, but especially if I plan on renting, I think the opportunity right now, there's very few of them, and people are looking past them because they're all looking at these new ones. The opportunity is on the beachfront, the older homes on the beachfront. And Burke & Company has a better buy right now. Yes, this is a long pitch towards one of our own listings, but I think this listing has big potential, you know, and I can't predict the future, but it has big potential because of the same sort of phenomenon. The new construction beach block price is well over $2 million right now. There aren't many lots that exist, but if they do exist, they're usually selling before they hit the market. They're selling at over $2 million per side. So each townhouse is getting over $2 million. Well, if the new ones are getting over $2 million and you can buy an older one close to the $1 million mark, I don't see how you can lose long term. Like long term, those things, that's not a guarantee, but long term, you've got all this room right now to sort of move into, right? I mean, those new ones begin to sell for more and more as time goes over, but you've got a lot of catching up to do. There's a big gap in between there. And think about it this way. If you're buying, you know, a new one at 2.2 or 2.3, if you could get an old one at 1.2, right? Which you know, right now we have one listed, 3010 Marine Place. It's listed at 1.279. 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath. It's actually a great location because you're on the promenade, right? So you can go out the promenade, you're not down in the busy section, you're far away from all that, but you can get out on the promenade. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pleasure Avenue is nice, but this idea that Pleasure Avenue is like the promenade and like this place to run and walk and everything, if you've been there in July, it's nice, but it's not the promenade. It's not, you know, getting up for your jog at 6 in the morning when the sun's coming up over the ocean and running along that promenade there. The promenade also works as a great seawall to protect your property. So this property is nestled, you know, at 3010 Marine, asking 1.279, 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath. And with the new ones getting, $1 million more, it's hard to justify. I will tell you this, it does not cost $1 million per side to build a townhouse. It's not even close to that. It is not $1 million per side to build a townhouse right now. Even on the beachfront where you're going to go all out, you can build, right now the better builders can do them on the 100 block for $1 million, so it's not even close to $2 million. So if there's $1 million gap, it's almost as if you're buying this piece of property for the value of the land, and yet you have a house there, right? A house that you can rent there, and a house that you can renovate there. So if I were looking on an investment side, right now, the hottest thing going on, what everybody wants to buy, is on the beach block. And if you want to do that, I'm not saying that's a bad decision at all, but that's a decision you do because it's right for you, because you're excited about it, because you're going to own a new house, because your family's going to love it, because everybody, there's great reasons to go and do that, right? And they rent well, and there's a million things right about them. But if I were looking specifically for a property that, yes, it works for my family maybe, but I'm really thinking on the investment side, I think right now 3010 Marine Place stands out as one of the best opportunities for 5 or 7 or 10 years in all of Sea Isle. So, I could go into a lot more in-depth explanation of that. This was pretty in-depth to begin with. This was super long. Try to show you a little bit of what this property is in a video right now that we'll run at the end. But I'd love to talk to you, obviously. It's John Burke of Burke & Company. We've got a great team. We got Dave Sedlak, Chris McGurk, Justine Harkins. You can reach us on our team line, 609-478-0333. That is a dedicated team line inside our office at Long & Foster. Or you can reach us at our team email, which is burkeandco@outlook.com. That's Burke, the word and co @outlook.com. So once again, I am John Burke of Burke & Company. This has been A Better View. I've given you a better buy. And if you're interested in talking about that or other opportunities, there are opportunities in Seattle right now. I'd certainly be happy to talk to you. So once again, John Burke, and we'll see you next time.